Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today we are going to be talking about the Drake Vulture. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys so much for the support, in particular to Steve Broadhead, Dennis Blessing, and Mark Reeser for becoming my latest patrons and channel members. So with many ships appearing on both the roadmap view and progress tracker, I'd like to go through each one in individual videos, taking a closer look at what they are, what they do, and just basically revisiting them, as I'm excited to see these ships come to fruition, and many of which have not really been spoken about for a long while. So for the new backers, this is a series that will introduce you to some ships that you may never have heard of, and for those of you who know of these ships, see it more as a refresher. Today we are going to be kicking off with a favourite of mine, which is the Drake Vulture. Now this is a solo salvaging vessel, and according to the progress tracker, the work on this is underway and slated to finish around mid-November. So although we don't have a definitive release date for the Vulture, it could be intended for the end of year patch, alongside the first iteration of the salvaging profession, all being well of course. In fact, we have just seen the current early white box of the Drake Vulture on a recent Inside Star Citizen, which is where they block out the basic shapes, ensuring it all matches up correctly to the metrics. So regardless of its release date, I'm sure we will continue to see it travel through the ship pipeline to its completion. Now in the real world, this ship was introduced back in 2017 as part of a You Pick the Next Drake ship, with the other options available being the Drake Corsair and the Drake Kraken. All three have now had their concept sales, and I will cover these in this new series when they appear on the progress tracker. So in the lore, in game, this ship was created by Drake Interplanetary not too long ago, in fact, in 2938, so only around 13 years ago, and it was designed to complement the salvaging profession, similarly to how the Prospector complements the mining profession. I do believe it was also part of the way for Drake to move away from being this pirate ship manufacturer that they are so synonymous with, hoping to slightly break that tether from the initial Kickstarter days when the Drake Cutlass was the specific pirate ship, as back then we only had a hauler, a fighter, a pirate ship, and so on and so forth. Now as the Drake Vulture is not yet released, we can't delve into its exact loadout or components, as these are yet to be determined, but we can talk about what it's intended to have and what it's intended to do. So it does have a couple of weapons, which will likely just be a pair of size 1 energy repeaters or cannons, but other than that, it doesn't appear to have anything else, including missiles, which is expected, as after all, it is an industrial ship and it's very similar to what the Prospector has. As mentioned above, we don't have any idea what components it will have, but it does mention that it will have one size 1 power plant, 2 size 1 coolers and 2 size 1 shield generators, plus a small quantum drive. Again, all of this is subject to change. Now it has VTOL capabilities, which do make sense, as you will likely need to hover over a ship that you're salvaging at some point, providing enough stability for you to work. It is also slated to have 12 standard cargo units of storage, which is utilised by the compact processor that will separate and prepare raw salvaged materials, compressing them into 1 standard cargo unit cubes, storing them in the cargo hold, ready for resale. And it was mentioned in the Q&A for the Drake Vulture that if it is not enough cargo storage, they have designed the ship to allow for expansion. So how will we be using the Drake Vulture? Well, the salvaging profession is yet to be fully determined, or at least explained to us as to the process. But we do know that the intention for Tier 0 of salvaging is to allow players to scrape materials off the surface of a ship and store them in canisters for reuse or resale. This will be done using the Greycat multi-tool salvaging beam or the dedicated Greycat salvaging tool. So for the Vulture, it will likely involve a process of slicing off small chunks of a ship, tractoring them into the processor, which will then compress them into these 1 standard cargo unit cubes and then deliver them to your cargo hold. Now when the ship was first introduced, many people were concerned in regards to how someone using a Vulture would be able to make any money selling 12 standard cargo units of scrap, compared to either just gathering components or weapons, or even using a different non-dedicated salvaging ship that could hold more components or weapons. But there will be many factors to consider within the salvaging profession, and when it comes to salvaging components or weapons, Firstly, their value will be heavily determined by their condition, and if the ship that you are salvaging is derelict in the first place, finding pristine condition components might be quite rare, meaning that the values will heavily vary, and I wouldn't expect to find extremely rare valuable items on most occasions. The other factor to consider is that when it comes to scrap, it is very dependable on what part of the ship you are choosing to salvage and turn into scrap. CIG are creating realistic materials for everything in the game, with each material holding the various characteristics that you would expect. So penetration value, tensile strength, reactions to the various environments, and so on. Basically, every material in the game, be that metals, cloth, plastics, everything will look, behave, and have basic recipes and values to that material as you would expect them to. So what this means when it comes to the value of a ship for salvage, each ship will be made up of many various materials that a skilled salvager or someone using a dedicated salvaging ship will be able to locate, thanks to either knowledge or a specialized scanner suite. So using the Vulture, this will allow the salvager to locate the most valuable materials of each ship, scrape them off and process them into far more valuable 1 SEU units to be sold directly to those who need them, instead of having to take them to a third party to do so, or just scraping everything off, even that has very little value. Now, of course, there will still be value to salvaging components and weaponry, but that will also come with a greater time constraint, as you will need to be assessing each individual item and then deciding what its worth could be for you to sell on, either to someone else who is going to use it or to another dealer. Of course, if you're selling these components to a dealer, they're going to want to make a profit on it as well, so you won't get the end result price. So basically, a seasoned salvager will know exactly where to scrape the best materials from on each ship without even needing to use the scanners, filling up their cargo hold much quicker than a less experienced salvager. It was also mentioned that, like mining, they don't want the process to be a simple click and leave mechanic, but require some skill, and I expect that there will be many hazards to be aware of, especially regarding life support and fuel systems on these derelicts, or even structural hazards. If you're chopping pieces or exploding pieces off, you want to make sure you're out of the way. Now, the Drake Vulture comes with many features to help in the salvaging profession, which include scraper beams, and it says these are dual integrated scraper beams using Drake's patented Tomium system, developed for ultimate speed and efficiency. They also have integrated tractor beams, and it says with the Ripper Claw being outfitted with an integrated lariat tractor rig of industrial grade, making it more powerful than other setups 3 times the size. And we now have working tractor beam tech with the Greycat multi-tool, and soon the dedicated tractor tool as well. The Vulture also has long haul capabilities, so you'll be able to spend longer periods of time away from civilization, as it has full living quarters inside with a bunk and likely some storage lockers as well. It also has central intuitive controls, basically offering amazing visibility and what looks like an accompaniment of floodlights, which will be very useful to see what's going on. Now, some of the points that were mentioned is that the Drake Vulture comes equipped with the multi-tool salvaging attachment to allow players to cut objects off if they need to, alongside a full complement of salvage charges, which I am sure will be a lot of fun when we finally get them, using them to maybe break apart larger sections of a ship that the Vulture's beams are not strong enough to cut through. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes with a dedicated Greycat salvaging tool instead of or as well as the multi-tool, but that is not a guarantee at this time. So what are my thoughts of the Drake Vulture? Now, personally, I do love this ship. I do own one as well, and I was extremely happy to see it appear on the progress tracker. I think its industrial design really suits Drake's aesthetic, which I am a big fan of anyway. And the ability to head out and spend days away from civilization, picking wrecks apart, is something that I'm sure myself and many others will enjoy. But with it being Drake, I do feel it'll be pretty cold inside and only provide the basic amenities, hopefully a toilet, but all in all, as an entry or starter ship into a profession, it is a favourite of mine. I do expect to see other manufacturers delving into the salvaging profession on this particular scale as well later down the line, but already I am loving the mining profession with the Prospector, of which I actually had very little interest in initially, so something like salvaging, which is one mechanic that I've been really excited for, having a ship like the Drake Vulture to do it in is a big win for me, and I can't wait to be stood on one of the Vulture's arms, looking over the wreck with the floodlights on full blast. So that was the Drake Vulture refresher or introduction, depending on whether you've heard of this ship before or not. Do let me know what your thoughts are on this ship, and if you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, come follow me over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers if you want to talk more about Star Citizen. Hit that like button if you don't mind, really does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys for all the support, it is truly appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.